Hello and welcome to Commercial Kitchen Planner's video series on the Revit project environment. In this series we will be walking you through the opening of a new project, the creation of a floor and wall, the insertion of component families, and the generation of electrical, plumbing, and equipment schedules and views. Finally, we will be generating sheets which can be printed and plotted or changed into PDFs. To begin, we're going to start with a new project. This is using the default project template that comes with Revit MEP. On the left we have our properties dialog, which details any element you have selected in the project. In this case I have an elevation, or if I were going to go over to the project browser and select different views, you can see the properties dialog changes to display information pertinent to the view I have selected. Also in the MEP version we have a ribbon up here which has various buttons, quite a few, for interfacing with Revit and working in the project. For now we're going to be sticking with the ones in the architectural tab, or architect tab. We start with drawing a basic floor. I'll use the rectangle command or cursor style or drawing style to draw this floor, although I could use a line if I had wanted. It just takes more time. Or if I'd want to draw a circular floor or something else. Anyway, those tools are quite useful in saving time and function similar to the ones in AutoCAD, in some cases exactly like the ones in AutoCAD. The mode I'm in right now is called edit mode, and it's you know you're in edit mode when you've got everything else in gray and you're drawing pink lines. You're in edit mode or sketch mode actually. Right now we're in edit mode though, and you have these two marks up here. You can either cancel edit mode or finish edit mode. What edit mode is doing is allowing you to draw out with these tools up here in the draw box the perimeter of the element you're designing, in this case a floor. So I have the perimeter of the floor outlined here in these pink lines, but there is no 3D geometry representing the floor in place yet, and that will take place once I finish in edit mode. But I wanted to show you here that on level 1 you can see this is the pink line representing the perimeter of that wall that or floor that I'm designing, but it has no thickness. At present it's two-dimensional. If I hit finish edit mode, the floor takes shape or form and can be changed accordingly. All of these elements that I'm selecting here in these views are called system families. They are inherent to the project and are manipulated in the project. Another system family we're going to be using is a wall. System families are varied, but they are limited to what comes with the project. Their counterpart would be a component family, which are the families that are generated in the family editor, but we'll be getting to those in another video. So now, let's follow along and we'll draw these walls. I'm using the pick lines command, and I'm selecting the lines depicting the perimeter of the floor that I just drew. Rather than select each line individually though, I'm going to press tab, and that will highlight all contiguous lines or elements, in this case lines, and I can simply click and my wall has been generated around the perimeter of the floor. When we go to a north elevation, we see that the wall has also taken shape. However, the wall is hanging off the side of the floor, and that can be remedied by going back to our plan view and hitting these flip arrows. The wall was drawn poorly, and now we see that the wall is properly aligned. Last thing we'll be doing in this video is putting in a ceiling. This is an easy way to do a ceiling if it's just going to match with the perimeter of a floor that you have. If it was a bit more complicated, you could sketch the ceiling out. And even sketching the ceiling can be simple when you have the ability to pick the walls that the ceiling will border. So using the pick walls command and hitting tab, I just was able to draw a line around the interior of those walls. And by finishing edit mode, before I do that, you can see again this is a 2D line. When I hit finish edit mode, it will generate a 3D representation in this perimeter of a ceiling. It's going to generate that on the reference level 8 feet offset from the reference level. And there we have it. If I wanted this to be at, you can't see it right now because I'm working in a hidden line visual style. I'll change to wireframe, and now you can see through all elements. There's the ceiling there. I want this to be right below the level 2, so there's multiple ways of doing that. You could drag it, but that's given to or prone to human error. As you can see, I didn't drag it exactly to that level, so you could also use the align tool and align it. And the align tool is accessed by the modify tab and is depicted in by this icon up here. Or if you knew the level that it had to be at to satisfy it, you could simply enter 10 and it'll jump up to that level. However, we want it to be right below level 10, so using the align command seemed to be the best way to do this. If you knew the thickness of the ceiling, you could have just subtracted that from 10, and that would give you this number here, which you could enter. Also, it looks like these ceilings are going a little bit too high, so I'm going to select all the ceilings, and I do that by clicking one ceiling. Clicking one wall, and selecting all instances visible in the view. Now you can see that all the walls have become highlighted in red. And then connecting that top part of the wall, or constraining it, to level 2, and that'll drop it down to the appropriate spot. If at some point level 2 changed to 15 feet, the wall will jump up accordingly, but the ceiling will not, because the ceiling is not constrained to a level. It's constrained to level 1, but it's not tied at all to level 2. If we wanted to have the ceiling controlled by one of these levels, we could simply create a new level. We'll call this ceiling grid. And we see that a ceiling grid level has been placed under the floor plan view, which I'm going to delete because we won't be using that. And a ceiling grid reflected ceiling plan has also been created. This is useful. You can see level 1 has a ceiling grid right now, but when I change the ceiling to be associated with the ceiling grid and set its offset to 0, and I set the offset on the ceiling to 0 because I wanted to line right up with the top of the ceiling grid, I can now go to my ceiling grid plan, and we see the different panels. The next video will be covering the importing component families and how they work and are manipulated in the project environment.